So what I ultimately said on the show as far as the actual violence, because it was a good distinction, Maria. So obviously it's easy to talk about it from the violence standpoint, but to your credit, there's a continuum here of just emotional protection all the way down to obviously the worst case scenarios of rape and violence and things of that nature. But I did want to highlight, and I said this on that show, for those who are violent, which is a minority, that our culture, the best way to handle this is how every other culture in America handles it, which is just simply to call the police. I was calling out our culture on the most violent situation is because of our precarious situation in our community. We make the mistake of our precarious relationship with the police. We make the mistake, our very own women sometimes will get harmed and make the mistake of not calling the police because of culturally how we see that dynamic. So they're allowing more harm to come because it's culturally taught not to use the police. And so then there becomes this idea that random brothers and sisters kind of come to the rescue. No other culture is being asked to do that. They literally just call the police. And so that was the deeper context that I gave on the show for our community to understand. When it comes to people that are harming people, there should be no protection, whether that's women or even down to our children with sexual violence, because we still will keep that in house as a culture if we're honest about that, due to our precarious relationship with the police. We still are not as quick to call as we should. There's no other cultures in this country that's not calling the police immediately. So that's why this is a deeper conversation, in my opinion, when it comes to what does that trope look like. We just keep putting it out there and are not honest about what the solution looks like. We think the solution is accountable people being accountable, and we're literally all in water all our lives. And we don't recognize that very true dynamic. Michael, I said a lot there. Go ahead and jump in, King.
You know, first of all, I want to thank Maria for finally giving a definition to protect Black women that wasn't at the extreme, and is one that actually can challenge me at a personal level, because again, I'm one of the brothers that when I see that conversation online, I go elsewhere. And I'll tell you why, because like I told you before, I've been married 15 years. I know what that looks like. I know intimately what the battle within the relationship to keep that. I have three children, 3 girls, who I worry about, again, incessantly. I think about, all these things, and I go, well, I'm doing my part, but you hit on something about, and it's not necessarily accountability in a certain sense, because again, my inner circles, those brothers, we getting it, they make me better. But I will tell you the one thing that you just challenged, simple challenge. You said protect Black women by holding yourselves accountable. And I went to my head, first thought in my head, I'll give it to you. My loyalty is to him, not her. And I went, why? My loyalty is to my brother, who I spent, again, a lot of these brothers, I've known y'all for years. I know people for these, my blood bond to some of these guys is to them. And it goes to one of those things, you start weighing on the scale. Well, do I know, it becomes an easier out for me, whether it's right or wrong. It goes easier out for me to say, well, what he's doing is fine because I know him. He's of good character. He's a good brother, right? What he's choosing to do is whatever. And again, I would, if I ever fell ill on that too, I would hope that they would hold me to the same grace, that kind of thing. But there's a challenge. Now I will tell you the one reason why we always joke about this in, anytime you talk about extramarital stuff, is we made it to a level now to where we go, all we say to each other is half. Is it worth half? That clears the cue of the conversation real quick. If you're not, and that's not to say, oh, I'm not a Puff Daddy or Jay-Z. No, I'm not there. But half for me would sting. Half for me would irrevocably sting and change my lifetime. If you get what I'm saying.
All the effort we done put in getting out the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Give away half for a silly moment.